Thank you for being here. And let's have a little talk, get this video started. Start with saying how I became a rider. It's one of those decisions that I actually made by accident. And not really an accident. I had a car back in 2016. It was a Nissan Altima. I think it was like a 2007, 2008. And it was the first time I actually had a vehicle, because I used to live in New York City, and out in New York you didn't really need a car to get around. Mass transit was pretty much good enough. So I got my car. Car was about $6,000, and I bought it. And long story short, the car only had about like 85,000 miles. I think it was exactly like 87,000 miles plus. And the next thing you know, it started breaking down, having all these serious issues. You know, camshaft sensors, steering wheel problems, doors not opening and closing properly, windows not opening and closing properly. Like it was just the best. When I got the car, you know, looked at it, inspected, you know, everything was good. I mean, granted, this happened about 5 months, 5 months in, but still, you know, it was a lot of money that had to be paid as far as, getting things fixed. And it was about, it was coming out to almost half the price of what the car actually costs. So the goal was to stay out of debt, cash on. So I started looking into scooters, and I was like, I don't know, it might be a little bit too big for for a scooter. But I started looking into motorcycles at the same time. I didn't know anything about motorcycles, how to ride. I didn't know anybody who rode motorcycles. I didn't have any friends that owned motorcycles, dirt bikes, or anything like that. So it was something totally brand new to me. And I started doing some research, and I discovered a channel. And I have to honestly thank this guy. Like, he doesn't even know me, but I just want to thank him for just having a channel on YouTube. His name was Cycle Cruiser. I mean, that guy was a funny guy. He had a really good life story about where he was from, Ohio. A lot of things went down for him. And long story short, I was watching this guy's channel, and at the time he had a Honda 300 at the time, and I think it was like reddish black. And he kind of went through the same thing, as far as just getting into motorcycling. He started on this Chinese scooter. Big up the Cycle Cruiser, man. That Chinese scooter story is still funny to this day. But anyway, you know, he started giving advice about, you know, getting into riding, the things you should kind of do. And the first thing he recommended was actually, you know, getting a scooter, because if you're not used to being on two wheels, you got to know what it's like, because it's totally different from riding or, you know, driving a car. So he recommended, you know, getting a scooter, or basically getting you know, just a bicycle. Naturally, bicycle, same fundamentals, a little bit slower, position of the controls are, you know, a little bit in a different area, but it was mostly about, you know, just being on two wheels, getting to know the feel of that. So I said, what the heck? So I went in, you know, bought a bike, you know, got a nice little mountain bike, and I started riding back and forward, you know, to work, you know, on my bike, on my bicycle. A couple of things. The very first thing that I discovered riding a bicycle, you gotta be very careful about using your brakes making turns. But, you know, long story short, you know, I got the hang of everything, and after, you know, some trials and tribulations of trying to figure everything out, the only thing left for me to do was to actually get out there and ride. The fear of being next to vehicles out on the street with no protection, you know, was the thing I was most worried about. And the way I got over that was I drove around my block probably like 1,000 times, and, you know, I purposely waited, you know, until I saw cars coming, and I needed to feel what it felt like to have cars north of me, a car south of me, a car. So, you know, I did that a couple of times. You know, it felt good. You know, long story short, you know, I got over the nervousness, and now it was time for me, you know, to ride to work. Fast forward, you know, I got a Ninja, you know, 300. Now I'm on the Yamaha R3. I'm a 47-year-old sport bike rider. And there's different types of bikes, different types of classes of bikes. You got sport bikes. Idiots, man. As you saw, it's one of those situations where people doing stupid stuff, and you saw with that slow speed maneuvering that I was talking about earlier that I had to do. One of those things where I can't put my foot on the ground. I had to keep the bike up, keep the bike moving, keep that rear wheel moving, so I don't halt up, you know, traffic. When I first started riding, I couldn't do that. You know, so that's one of those real life situations, you know, that I was talking about. Those techniques, you need to really learn those techniques, man, because out on these streets, yo, these streets are unforgiving. They really are. So you gotta know what you're doing. You gotta know what you're doing. You gotta pay attention. Anything could go wrong, you know. Naturally, as a rider, you have to be more conscious of your surroundings in actual cars, because you're going to be smaller, and you know, people may not necessarily, you know, see you. So there's different techniques, you know, to ride in the streets, you know, with traffic, so forth and so on. And I'm sure I'll be making videos dedicated, you know, towards that.